Welcome to the Personal Pension Radio Podcast, where you get unconventional insights into wealth building and retirement that actually work. Discover data-driven strategies and learn from a wealth of experience so that you can take your retirement to the next level. Now, here's your host. He was once bitten by a harbor seal, the income engineer, Kraig Strom.
All right, Tosh, thank you for that introduction, as always. All right, we're back on Personal Pension Radio, joined in studio by Debbie Blackford. Hello.
Hello.
I'm going to give Debbie an intro here in just a moment, but we're going to change up the format a little bit. I want to actually put a disclosure right in here in the beginning. This will be the short disclosure, and if you want to listen to the full-blown disclosure, the big, long one, that'll be at the end of the podcast, so you can hear that as well. But the disclosure is this. Don't take advice or act on advice from people on the radio, on TV, on a podcast for that matter. If you want to make sure that you're getting the right advice, schedule a consultation directly with someone like myself or someone from our team here at Personal Pension Radio. Make sure they get to know you specifically before you act on any advice that you hear on the radio or a podcast or on TV. So there's the short disclosure. The full disclosure will come at the end of the podcast. So back on Personal Pension Radio, we are broadcasting from the 95th floor of the Team Financial Tower here in beautiful South Corona, where we have the Personal Pension Radio studios. And for those of you who have not listened to the podcast, we are all about bringing together the information you need to make sure that you can actually save your lifestyle when you retire. It's not enough to just save for retirement. You have to be able to exit the workforce someday and have a lifestyle that you might look forward to. So that's what we're all about here. And today, we're actually doing an entrepreneur spotlight. That I love to interview entrepreneurs, business people that have actually been out there running their own business and have a success story to share, as well as some challenges and some advice to share. So that's why I've invited Debbie to be on the podcast. Debbie and I met, about maybe 5-6 years ago. Yeah. So Debbie's a little shy on the podcast right now. When you get to know her, she is the least shy person ever. Right, Debbie?
That's right.
Okay, so she's not going to be shy anymore because I told her there's only 3 people listening to the podcast. And that's my mom and my wife is 2 other people. So it's okay. It's not to worry about it, right? So a short intro from my perspective. When I met Debbie a few years back, she is actually an independent sales director with Mary Kay Cosmetics. I believe still the number one. I'm not sure what the ranking internationally is, but one of the number 1 top cosmetics companies in the world.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, number 1. So make sure you keep that in mind. And I'd met Debbie through a professional organization, and somewhere along the way, I thought it would be cool to introduce my daughter, Madeline, to Debbie, because Debbie had mentioned that she does these parties for ladies and she does makeover parties, right?
Yep, that's what we do.
So she had done these makeover parties, and for a long time, I had actually been doing very specific birthday and Christmas events for Madeline. I made sure that instead of giving her a bunch of extra presents, I would actually try and plan a special event. And that event, I think it was for her 11th birthday. Gosh, it's been so long.
Wow, has it been that long
I know.
ago?
It's probably maybe her 10th or 11th birthday. We planned a Mary Kay skincare party. And for those of you who would like to see a really cool picture of Madeline on the day of the party with her face covered in a Mary Kay mask.
It was a mask.
It was a mask. I don't know what kind of mask it was, but it was awesome. It's all green. We're going to actually have that picture posted, and it would be great if everybody could go to the Personal Pension Radio Facebook page and the podcast page and share that picture with as many people as possible so that Madeline can never get it back.
You're a great father.
She is off to college coming up in August, and I would love for our Personal Pension Radio audience to help me share this fantastic photograph of her and her best friend Savannah at the Mary Kay party. But that's how we got together, and at least with my family. And then Madeline became a devoted Mary Kay skincare customer. And she just did an excellent job for the rest of her life, taking care of her skin and being healthy with the ways that she treated herself as it related to makeup or anything like that. And I credit Debbie for introducing her to that. Now, fast forward a few years, trying to help Madeline get ready for the real world, we helped her actually, along with Debbie, to start her own Mary Kay business. And that has been, to say the least, Debbie, don't you think, a difficult process?
There are some challenges with that.
Yeah, maybe 13. Well, she's 15 years old. She kind of got started, 14 and a half, 15. She was all excited about it. And then her teenage brain took over, right?
It kind of looks like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
But she's had a renaissance now. She's actually moving in the right direction. It's pretty exciting. But I invited Debbie on the podcast today to talk about her experience in starting her own business and her journey with Mary Kay. And it doesn't necessarily have to be Mary Kay, but the conversation is about starting a business, doing something, changing your direction. And I'd like to get started asking some questions here, but I always like to start, if I can, with a favorite quote. And Debbie, you got a favorite quote that you like to live by?
I do. My favorite quote, and it has been for years, is "Success breeds success."
I like that.
Yeah. And it was inspired because being in business and being your own boss, one of the challenges is you do need to motivate yourself.
Yes.
When you don't feel like going to work, you have to get yourself to work, even if that means just walking down the stairs and opening the right door. But that is one of the challenges. And so you have to learn how to get out of a slump or get out of the, I just don't feel like doing it today. And I found that when I felt like that, if I just got on the phone and I reached out to either a customer or one of the ladies on my team, they would inspire me. And it's the people that motivate me. And so that little success of picking up the phone, that little success of getting a new sale, that little success of adding a new team member really catapults future successes. So it starts with a little success.
I couldn't agree more. I think that is an outstanding comment, because it doesn't really matter what business you're in. You could be selling tires. You could be selling haircuts. You could be selling legal services or financial planning services. It's that success breeds success. There is something about that that's very motivational. So before I jump into more business stuff, tell us about family. You're not just an independent shop upstairs coming downstairs. There's probably a bunch of stuff on the floor and on the stairs that are blocking the way, right?
Quite a bit, actually.
Gotcha. So tell us about the team.
Okay, well, I am married. Next year we'll be celebrating our 10-year anniversary.
Outstanding.
Yes.
Okay.
And my husband's very, very, very supportive. And I have 4 children.
I have to stop. How many times have you actually done a makeover on him? Because I know Debbie's husband, and he's probably one of those manliest men that you could ever meet. I just want to know how many times he's had his nails done or his makeup done.
Well, I'm sure we've done at least one makeover.
Yeah.
And early on, before we were married, we dressed him up in women's clothing and a wig and makeup for a Mary Kay event that we had done. And I thought I might lose him after that, but he stayed and married me. So
now, if we could add a picture there on the podcast picture page, that would be nice to have that. We might want to pull that out.
I think I could find one.
I bet you could. I bet you have it on your phone right now. So we've got husband, fantastic, yes. And then we've got some little ones. Yes,
I have 4 children. The oldest is 21, and
21.
Yes,
outstanding. What's she off to now?
Off to school.
Fantastic.
Yes, off to school. And she was 3 when I started my business.
Ah, okay. Gotcha. Yep. So she's grown up watching you in the business.
She has. And actually yesterday we did a makeover. And if you're friends with me on Facebook, you would see her gorgeous makeover. And it was very special to me because I kicked off a new model contest, and the winner gets a $100 gift card to Glen Ivy.
Okay,
Well, she wants to win the Glen Ivy gift card, but it just meant a lot to me that here she watched. She grew up in Mary Kay, and she embraced it instead of not wanting to have anything to do with it because that's what mom does.
Right.
Her skin is gorgeous, and she's been an avid product. She's used it from a very, very young age, and I just felt. It was just one of those moments where you're just really proud. Right.
You see your 21-year-old about ready to step out, and yet she's stepping out with that still as a positive memory. That's good.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that I can drop Madeline off in August with that kind of a positive memory. We're just going to drive the truck up to the school and let her jump out the back. That's what we're going to do. We're going to keep it simple.
She'll tumble out of the back.
So you got a 21-year-old, but you have 3 others.
Yes. So then Madison is 18. She just graduated, and she's off to college as well.
Great.
And she too, it totally embraces the product and what we do. They have a lot of respect for what I do. And so I've seen over the years of raising them in the culture of Mary Kay and working from home. Some of their phone etiquette is amazing. Their personal skills are fantastic. The things that they use to organize their days and their schedules, I see, has been a reflection of things that I do.
Seeing your example.
Yes.
Right.
Like, for example, one of the first things we teach and learn in our first week in Mary Kay is the 6 most important things list.
Okay.
And so before you go to bed, you finish your evening with writing down your list of what needs to happen the next day, starting with the 6 most important. And that way you wake up in the morning and you know what your focus is. You can rest your mind at night and go to sleep faster because you've already put to rest those thoughts. You don't have to think about it. They're now pen to paper. And I remember Kaylee, my oldest, she was maybe junior high. It could have been even younger, but possibly junior high. And I walked into her room with the whiteboard on the wall, and she had her 6 most important things list.
Oh my gosh.
And
that's great.
I didn't teach it with my words. It was that osmosis.
Yes.
She just
saw it by example.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a few moments like that with Madeline where you turn around and go, why are you doing that? Well, I was just doing it. Well, that's exactly the kind of thing that she paid attention to. So it's good. That's exciting. But from a business perspective, I love that 6 most important things, to have yourself a focus so that you know what you're going to be working on. That's actually fantastic. And then, so we've got Madison 18.
Yes, and then Zane is my son, my only son, and he is...
son in the house full of women.
That's right.
With you and your husband just trying to fight him off, right?
That's right. He's 16. He'll be starting his junior year this year.
Excellent.
He's a wrestler. And
that's right. I was going to say, he actually he's a wrestler, which is just such a tough sport. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, he loves it. He does quite well. He's a natural athlete. He's pretty good at everything he does, I must say.
Gotcha.
Not to be too proud or anything.
How many times have we had his nails done? Probably not.
Not in a long time.
That's good. And then you've got the munchkin of the bunch.
Yes. Then we have a 5-year-old, and she'll be starting kindergarten this year. And of all the girls, she has the greatest potential. She's showing the greatest potential for having a desire to become an independent beauty consultant herself.
Gotcha.
She already knows how to set up a table for makeovers. She knows what everything is. We're working on the placement of the products herself.
Oh, excellent.
But she absolutely loves doing it.
She'll be driving the pink Ferrari, right?
Right.
She'll be driving the pink Ferrari. That's it sounds like that's interesting. So out of the 4, you get the one who's going to be the Mary Kay, to dominate the world, right?
It sure looks that way right now.
That's outstanding. Well, tell me how did this come up? Okay, because if you will, those listening, just a reminder. The Mary Kay business is a business, but there's a lot of opportunity out there to start our own businesses. How was it that Mary Kay came up on your radar? How did that connection happen in your background that puts you in that position?
Right. On my 18th birthday, a friend of mine took me to a business for a free makeover. And at that point is when I was introduced to skincare, and I really learned how important skincare was. So I started using a great product at 18, and I was very diligent morning and night, all the steps needed for healthy skin. When I was 18, also when I was 18, the company that I worked for, a beauty consultant came in and did makeovers with us at the end of the workday. And the products were comparable in price, I think a little bit less actually, but the kicker was she was going to deliver the products directly to me. Well, I was so I must have been 19 because I was expecting my first child.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes, I was a very young mom.
Gotcha, yeah.
And I wasn't a shopper, didn't enjoy going to the mall to get my products. She was going to deliver to me, and that was going to save me time, money, and a headache.
So the huge benefit. Huge benefit.
So I switched over to the Mary Kay products when I was 19 years old, and then fast forward to 24 years old.
Yeah.
And I went to refill my skincare products, and I told her that in 2 years' time, my Kaylee was going to be starting kindergarten. And at that time, I commuted 100 miles a day to a job that we depended on my income. And I really enjoyed my job, but it wasn't the lifestyle that I wanted. And I couldn't, the biggest thing that I couldn't capture or understand how it was going to work was getting my daughter to kindergarten for half-day kindergarten.
Oh, yeah. So your current work was going to really, the dynamic really affected that.
Right. So I was telling her, I need to do something different.
Right.
Okay. It was never ever a thought to sell Mary Kay. But she was listening to my challenges and to my desires of making a life change.
Right.
So she was very wise. Love Chris Neary.
Ah, fantastic.
And so she gave me information on let me date myself, a cassette tape.
A cassette tape.
A cassette tape. Does anyone know what that is anymore?
That magnetic strip in there that you had to roll up with a pencil. I remember that. I do remember that.
It took me 3 days to put it in, but on my commute to work, I popped it in my cassette player.
Wow. By the way, just for those younger listeners, back in the day, we actually did not have CDs, DVDs. We actually put plastic cassette tapes in our car stereos, and then we knew that it was time to change the stereo when it ate the cassette tape.
That's right.
So you put it in, you were listening to it in the car.
Yeah. So
on the way to the job that you were having a problem with.
Yeah. I didn't really have a problem with the job.
It was the dropping off.
It was just the dynamics of life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so by the time I got to my job that morning, I had made a decision I was going to start selling Mary Kay. So I went through my day, drove back home, listened to it once again on my drive home. And I didn't even go home first. I didn't call my husband. I went straight to her house and knocked on her door and asked her to sign me up.
Gotcha.
So it was, and Madison was 9 months old. So Madison was 9 months old.
Okay.
Kaylee was 3 years old.
Right.
When I decided to start selling the product.
Okay. Wow. So you actually had your hands full.
Yes.
Plus you'd been commuting back and forth to a job, and then you took this big leap.
Yes.
That was a huge leap.
It was. But my desire for a different life was greater than the pain of staying the same.
And the fear of getting started, right?
Right. Oh, I had no fear.
Interesting. Okay.
I mean, I'm sure there was fears because believe it or not, I was very, very shy. I had never sold anything, and I didn't wear makeup. So even though I used the skincare, I didn't wear makeup. And so I had a lot to learn, but I'm telling you, my desire for a different lifestyle was so great that I was willing to be teachable and trainable and learn the things that I needed to learn so that I could have the lifestyle that I dreamt of. When I was young, I knew I just wanted to be a mom.
Right. So what was it so now you've made that decision, what was it that really kept you? What was it that drove you forward then? Because that's that entrepreneurial spark that happens. And so often the spark happens with a moment of irrational exuberance. And then we find ourselves in a position like, oh, heck, I guess I didn't want to be here. But what was it that kept you engaged in moving forward?
Well, for me, I joined because of money, because the bottom line was I depended on an income.
Right.
So I was looking for something to replace the income I was earning. However, those first 2 weeks, I did what we call in Mary Kay a perfect start.
Yeah.
And so I saw enough faces. And as I was standing, watching the women sit at the table, and when we were done with their makeovers, they lifted their mirrors and they were smiling at themselves.
Yes.
And to see their comments and the interaction with each other, it was a paycheck of the heart. And that is why I stayed.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then all these years later, I have such an incredible sisterhood in the community. It's a beautiful, wonderful, loving environment to work in.
Right.
And I love it.
That's outstanding. I really appreciate the fact that the answer to the question, why did you stay, wasn't, well, it was very easy. Because I've known you long enough that it wasn't easy.
No.
Right?
No.
It wasn't easy. There's been challenges along the way for sure.
Yes.
But you went beyond just selling Mary Kay, and you've actually built your own business organization, right? I mean, you've actually built up an organization. How did you transition into that direction, where you started really looking towards, well, you're an independent person, kind of just on your own, and you transitioned into really starting to build an organization around you?
One of the things that I did, and I am just a fan of anyone who is following their dream.
Yeah.
And of course, I love what I do, but I respect that there's other vehicles to fulfill what people need.
Right.
Outside of Mary Kay.
Right.
But one of the things is I took advantage of everything. My director said, go to everything. And I went to everything. And I'm from, weekly meetings to quarterly events to the annual events to the occasional seminars, webinars, any education and training. Training
and education, right.
Because through the education and the training, you're also exposed to the energy and the enthusiasm. So,
right.
It's kind of like, going to church every week. You get that.
Yes.
That extra shot of energy that helps remotivate you and energize you. And so doing that, I kept myself immersed in the positive energy that you can do it, that you can overcome it. At the same time, getting the tips and tools that applied, 18 years, we've seen shifts several times in how we do things. I mean, our fundamental basics are the same. But as social media changes,
absolutely,
as education, we went from directing people to now we're coaching people as leaders.
We went from cassette tapes to DVDs to online MP3s,
YouTube
videos, right? Yeah, things have evolved, and and you're still only in your 20s, so
thank you.
It's just amazing how things have advanced in just 3 short years, right?
Right, exactly.
That's outstanding. So, question now, because we're talking about running a business, really. You've now have an operation that is beyond just you. When you talk to people about starting their own business, because that's what you've done. You've started your own business. What do you recommend to someone thinking about starting their own business? Is there, what comes to mind when that question comes up? Because inevitably you've had that conversation with folks.
Oh, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times over the years. Well, it would look a little different if it's somebody who's specifically looking at Mary Kay.
Right.
For me personally, I want to get to know the person. I want to know what their interests are, what their passions are, what their motivation is, why they're doing it. But just as a general, I think that really understanding that it takes work. It takes work.
I have to agree.
And to not sugarcoat that, because then you're leading them down a path that's not right. There's no integrity there. I think that you can do things that bring you joy and income at the same time.
Right.
But to not be deceived that it isn't work.
Yeah, that is a common theme with just about any business startup, whether you're starting a donut shop or whether you're starting a financial practice or a Mary Kay practice. whether you're a CPA, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. It's going to take work. You're going to have to really work it because there's going to be someone else out there working a little bit harder than you are. And that's the challenge. You actually have to work just that much harder to differentiate yourself and to step up and achieve that.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So I think if somebody is looking into doing it, I am a huge fan. I think everyone should go for it and just, be minded that don't give up. People ask me all the time, why are you still there? I never gave up. I never said quitting was never an option. It never has been. It's literally never, ever crossed my mind ever to quit.
Gotcha. Okay.
I mean, there's time, over the seasons of life, because we do have children and we've had different seasons. I've ran my business, married, divorced, single, pregnant, remarried.
Right.
Some, going through some pretty very challenging and difficult seasons with my children, with health.
Yeah.
And you just don't give up. You just work through them.
That's it. It works in your personal life as well as in your business life. It's the same rules. You have to actually just keep your head down, keep working, keep your chin up when you possibly can. That leads to the question I'd like to talk about success stories. Right. I'd love to, maybe share some of your favorite stories about how you've helped a client or a friend or stories that you've seen in your own business. Because we know that you're starting your own business clearly changed the direction of your life. I mean, your children are better for having you around. They are, whether they like it or not.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder, but I did my best.
Absolutely. That's what you can. You never gave up, right?
I never gave up.
But if you could maybe share an example or two of success stories that have really touched your heart that you remember as you look back on your journey in as an entrepreneur, I'd be interested to hear what your success stories come to mind.
Well, a couple of them that come to mind, and they're small, but they come to my mind.
Yes.
And I have a gal who was on my team.
Yep.
And I forget how long she was with me, but then she decided that it wasn't where she wanted to be. She left the Mary Kay business, opened up a new business, and it's still thriving today. And this has been many years now. It's probably been 8 to 10 years now that she's done this. And I have seen her a few times in these last years since she opened her new business. And she always gives credit to her time with Mary Kay. And she says, Deb, what I learned from starting a Mary Kay business, running it, the personal growth that she gained in that year or two that she was with me, she said, gave her the confidence that she needed and the skills that she needed to move on to do what she always wanted to do.
Outstanding.
And I just love that. I just love because when I started Mary Kay, to me, if you started, you can't leave. Right. And now with the experience that I've had, I can really recognize and respect that, it might just be a season, and that's great. That's really great. And then another awesome, actually there's two ladies who came into my team onto my team to fund the college.
Yes, Debbie and I were talking offline about this. This is a touch point for me because I'm sending Madeline off, my daughter off to Northern Arizona University. And she's heading off into that big wide world. And so it was kind of exciting to hear this. Please. Yes.
So I have two gals in particular that literally started their businesses so that they could pay for the college education of their children.
Wow.
And they successfully did so. And that was really, really awesome.
Wow.
Just to watch, them go out and hold their parties and hold their facials and fill those reorders and know that their profit was going to pay that tuition. Very, 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 that was just wonderful. And then I have a personal friend who she herself, when she was young and in college, she started her Mary Kay business.
Right.
And she paid for her college through with
her own college.
Her own. Yeah. She was in college herself.
Okay.
She was attending college herself, selling Mary Kay through that process, earned her free Mary Kay car, became an independent sales director.
Free Mary Kay car in college?
Yes. Yes.
Madeline, are you listening?
She can do it. Absolutely.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah. So when I joined the company, she was one of the youngest, and I was young with her. We were very close in age, and just to know that she had done that really encouraged and inspired me. Right. And so shortly after, I think I earned my first car after 9 months with the company.
Wow.
And I really think that Jessica Wilburn,
all right.
She was a great and huge inspiration to show me that it can be done.
Oh, that's outstanding. How many cars are you on now?
I'm earning my 8th car right now.
8th car coming up. Yeah. And they have been, as of late, more family type cars.
Yes.
Not ready for the 2-door Cadillac just yet, but perhaps when certain car seats and other things are no longer required, right?
Yeah. Over the years, I have taken cars, I've taken cash to pay for a larger vehicle. Right now, I'm driving a Chevy Equinox, which is a great family car. And I have driven the pink Cadillac also. And
she's had a few diamond rings as well, which are quite spectacular. Not that I'm into diamond rings or anything, but they're pretty spectacular. Tell me, what is it that helps you deal with the challenges that you face? I mean, how do you deal with the emotional, the business challenges that you face as an entrepreneur? You're managing family, you're managing a business, you've got a sales team that works for you. How many people on your team?
Right now, about 70.
70 people on your team. That's a pretty significant small business. How do you deal with all those challenges? Do you have a core, method or mindset for that?
Well, I mentioned earlier that I participate in training.
Gotcha.
And
right.
I want to be educated. And so one of the things that I learned a long time ago was the cycles of emotion.
Okay.
And this is something that applies to every aspect of your life. Your own, from personal fitness to relationships, your spiritual life, everything. And so the emotional cycle starts with excitement. When we're excited about something and and the sky is the limit, all lights are green and nothing can stop you.
Right.
So that's your first cycle. And so it starts with excitement. And then what happens is something disappoints you. Someone disappoints you. And you start to lose your excitement, and then you're kind of doubting and you're questioning, is this where I'm supposed to be? Is this what I'm supposed to do?
Right.
Then it goes a little deeper, and we call this the doldrums. Yeah. And this is when you're not answering phone calls. You are off the radar.
Right.
You're not plugging yourself in, and you're truly in a place of, do I throw in the towel or do I not?
Right. Okay.
Then that's the third cycle. And then the fourth cycle is called recommitment. And in recommitment, you've come full circle and you've recognized why you started, why you should stay, and you make a decision that you're not going to quit.
Right.
And then you pick up the phone, you reconnect, you're plugged back in, and then you're back into excitement.
Gotcha.
Because success breeds success.
Yes. Okay.
So when I learned that cycle, I really took it seriously, and I recognized how it applies in all areas of life.
Yeah, I can see it personally for myself. I've seen it as I think about that. Yeah,
right.
For sure.
It's just a natural cycle. Well, what happens when you become more emotionally resilient, you can go through those cycles in 13 seconds.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay?
Gotcha.
And so it's understanding who you are and what it takes to bring you back to excitement. And the stronger you are emotionally, then the faster you can get back to excitement and the longer you can stay in excitement. And if you know the things that can keep you there and you are disciplined to stay in touch with the people who can keep you there, plug into the events, into the trainings, whether maybe it's music, maybe it's books, it's reading.
Right, just to know what those trigger points are.
Right.
I wonder, I didn't prep Debbie for this question, so she's going to smile like, oh no. I wonder if there is any information that you could recall that we might link to in our show notes on that topic. I think that could be extremely helpful for the audience in general and for business owner people aspiring. Just link perhaps to the emotional cycle.
Well, Pat Pearson published it in one of her books. And I want to say it was in the book Party with a Purpose.
I'll tell you what, we'll track it down and we'll put it in the show notes for everybody, perhaps with an Amazon link, just to make sure that you've got the resource. That would be great. And then maybe we'll convince Debbie to do a full-blown 2-hour YouTube video on it. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. I really appreciate that because that is so important to understand yourself as a person and the people around you are going to go through those kind of cycles. And it's important to have something to be able to benchmark that, to understand and recognize where you are. No, it really is. That leads to kind of a final question. And then I've got Debbie has a really cool event coming up that I wanted to make sure to get out on the podcast. But tips for getting out of neutral, tips for helping someone. They might want to start their own business, whether it's Mary Kay or a Pizza Hut, but any motivational ideas or thoughts that you've had that have been helpful for you over your career, helping people get rid of that analysis paralysis where they're just thinking about it for a long time and they never get off the couch and do it?
Well, I picture streetlights.
Okay.
There's green ones, there's red ones, there's yellow ones.
Right.
And they're never all green at the same time.
Yeah.
And so if you can wrap your head around the fact that there's never a good time to start something new.
Yes, yeah.
Just do it.
Gotcha.
I mean, it's so simple.
Right.
But just do it. And if you need that encouragement, I think we all know at least one person in our world that is the encourager, that is our biggest cheerleader, that believes in us more than anyone else.
You're optimist.
Right. You need to go to them and share with them what you're thinking about, and maybe if you don't have that person in your life, go to your favorite music, and of course,
something that makes you smile. Yeah, pray about it. Go to church. Something that makes you smile. Something that you enjoy. Some place that you enjoy being. That's a great, great piece. But to Debbie's point, I have a friend of mine, for example, who is a fitness trainer. And he has this idea that he wants to start a podcast because he's seen the podcast that we've done here at Personal Pension Radio, and he's heard it and listened to it, and he's got excited. And every time I see him, he's still looking for the green light. And in his case, the light's just going to be yellow. I mean, that's fine. Get up and go. So I'm going to share this podcast with him and tell him to listen to the end so he can hear me put this public announcement out to him to get off the couch and go. But listen, as we wrap up, I love having you here, Debbie. I appreciate you sharing your story because I am a huge fan, and we here at Personal Pension Radio, we're a huge fan of the entrepreneur, the people that drive this country are the entrepreneurs, are the small business owners in this country. We are the drivers of the economy. And I love the story of someone who made a decision, like 3 short years ago, not 18, 3 short years ago, to do something that was specifically family focused, personal focused, and then just hung on to it and just hung on to that wild bull and just now, you're in a position where you're actually running a very successful sales organization. That's outstanding. So congratulations to you.
Thank you. I have to say I have incredible customers and an incredible team, and I don't take them for granted.
No doubt. No doubt. So you have something coming up that I do want to put on the podcast. So this will be memorialized forever. So I'll make sure that we say the date so that folks know that if they're listening to this, 100 years from now, that the October 24th, 2015, here in Southern California, just a little ways away from the 95th floor of the Personal Pension Radio Tower, there's going to be an MK5K run walk. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Debbie?
Yeah, I'm very, very excited about this. The Mary Kay Foundation is an amazing nonprofit organization that helps the proceeds benefit doctors that are looking for cures for cancers, and we also have a huge fight against domestic abuse.
Oh, yes.
And so that is just the top of the iceberg. The foundation does a lot more than that, but I personally spoke with somebody from the foundation in January that really motivated me and inspired me to take a couple passions that I have, my passion for running and my passion to make a difference. And so I decided to get a committee together, and we've got this MK5K October 24th, 2015. And so the proceeds will be benefiting the Mary Kay Foundation. And our goal is to have 500 participants. We are going to have custom MK5K medals, finisher medals, t-shirts, an awesome swag bag. And there's also a 1 mile kids run. And we would just love community support. And we're really, really excited about it. It's going to be a really fun morning for the family.
I've already committed. So I run for my own personal reasons, not because it makes me smile. So I run, and of course, I've committed to finding 10 people to run with me.
Thank you, Kraig.
Yes, and I said I would do it, and now I made the mistake of recording it on the podcast. How do people reach out to you and find this?
Okay, well, if you're on Facebook, we do have a Facebook page, MK5K.
Okay, great.
Just look up MK5K.
We're going to have all the links in the show notes for sure. And how do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, I also have a website. It's www.mk5k.com.
Okay.
And my cell phone and email address are on that website, as well as a registration link. So if you have questions, feel free to reach out to me through Facebook or the website, and you can register online.
Perfect. Listen, really appreciate you being here, Debbie. This has been great. And for those listening, we've got fantastic content, 29 episodes now, I believe. So make sure that you get back and check out those additional episodes. Also, don't forget my challenge. Get over to our Facebook page, the Personal Pension Radio page, and make sure that you share Madeline and Savannah's picture all over the place. Make sure you like it. Make sure you share it. Make sure you give us some cool comments. And we'll make sure that Madeline has some really good social media comments out there to go with her to college so that everybody sees her on the page. Thanks again for everybody for listening. We'll talk to you again real soon on Personal Pension Radio.
Thank you for listening to the Personal Pension Radio Podcast. If you missed anything during the show, that's okay. We took the notes for you. Check the show notes for links, offers, and a full transcript. And don't forget to head over to personalpensionradio.com and download your free retirement income report. While you're there, we'd appreciate some iTunes love. Please leave us a fantastic rating on iTunes by going to personalpensionradio.com/iTunes. Thanks again for listening.